This is Leslie Feinberg's The Right to Fight Back, published December 7, 2012. At certain moments in history, the struggle of individuals to survive and organize against fascist attacks, police and prison terror sharply reveals the societal relationship of forces between oppressor and oppressed, exploiter and exploited. These battles inspire unity and action that help shape and define political eras, like the demands to free the Scottsboro brothers, Lolita LeBron, Leonard Peltier, George Jackson, Joanne Little, Mumia Abu Jamal. The struggle to free Sisi has sparked a growing, broad, united front against white supremacy and anti trans violence. Cece McDonald touches hands with Leslie Feinberg, WW managing editor, author, and LGBTQ leader, through the plexiglass barricade during a visit in April 2022. Stop the war on trans women of color. It is no metaphor to say that there is a war against trans women of color in the US, on the streets and in the prisons. Here are the names of some of those who lost their lives to anti trans lynchings in cities across the US in 2012: Brandy Martell, Paige Clay, Kira Cruz, Dione Jones, Tracy Johnson, Tyrell Jackson, Rosita Hidalgo, Coco Williams, Kendall Hampton, Tiffany Gooden, Dee Dee Pearson, Githy Goins, Brenting Dolioli, Jeanette Tovar, Cassidy Vickers. When a trans person is murdered, often police and monopoly media don't investigate or report the deaths. Killers, largely unsought, walk free. Therefore, little is known about any possible links between these murders or any connections the killers have with neo-fascist groups, police, or military. Cece McDonald fought and survived a group fascist attack. She is hailed as a hero, a femme hera, in many communities in the US and around the world. The continued punishment of Cece McDonald by police, prosecutor, judge, and prison warden is a green light to neo-fascists. On the streets and in the schools, police precincts, prisons, and detention centers. Cops and Klan work hand in hand. Police and prison guard brutality against trans people also goes largely unreported by officials in monopoly media. Journalist Mark Lamont Hill wrote in Ebony magazine, according to studies, 38% of Black trans people indicate that they have been harassed by the police. Even worse, 20% state that they have been physically or sexual assaulted by the police. Hill continued, trans individuals are subjected to prison sentences during which they will be labeled and treated as a gender rather than their own. Such a practice, if done to straight cis-sexual individuals, would clearly be understood and challenged as torture. Ebony.com. Cece McDonald wrote from St. Cloud Prison in 2012, I would have rather been punished for asserting myself than become another victim of hatred. Cece McDonald's assertion and her self-defense are historically rooted in the right, the necessity, to fight back against Nazi, Klan, and other white supremacist fascist terror. Who's going to stop the Klan? It wasn't moral persuasion that overturned the Southern Slavocracy on the Northern American continent. It took many hard-fought, bloody battles. The legal system of enslavement was rocked by illegal uprisings and resistance by enslaved and self-emancipated African laborers like Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth. Freedom fighters, Black and white together, carried out a guerrilla raid on the U.S. Army arsenal at Harper's Ferry, Virginia in 1859. They hoped to liberate and distribute weapons and spark insurrectionary uprising against the white supremacist Slavocracy. After the Civil War, the former Southern plantation owners created and armed the Klan as a weapon of terror and murder. WWP founder Sam Marcy wrote, the durability of the Klan rests on solid long-term bonds to the capitalist state. and the two share a common political ideology for the most part. The Klan and government, foes or allies. Workers.org/Marcy. Marcy emphasized that after the Civil War, the Northern industrialists and bankers were more interested in reaching a compromise with the ex slave owners than with the newly freed slaves. The U.S. government capitulated to the Southern planters and ex slave owners after a period of Reconstruction, when it withdrew federal troops from the South without establishing an independent citizens militia composed of the black people and poor whites. Marcy continued, that left them politically defenseless and deprived the black population of economic power by failing to grant the newly emancipated people the land which they had tilled for centuries. It was in this period that lynching, the most barbarous form of counter-revolutionary terror, became the hallmark of the reactionary attempt to keep the black people in semi-bondage, Marcy concluded. We are gonna stop the Klan. Ever since the violent dismantling of revolutionary black Reconstruction after the Civil War, the police, in large numbers, have been called out to protect the right of white supremacists and fascists to assemble and publicly make their call for racist genocide. When police attack, their force is always directed at those protesting the Klan. Over the decades, millions have taken to the streets in movements for national liberation and immigrant worker rights, against white supremacy, patriarchal class rule, and anti-LGBTQ plus oppressions. These have answered, which social force has the ability and willingness to fight white supremacist lynch law terror, chanting in unison, we are gonna stop the Klan. The demand to free C.C. McDonald defends the right to organize and fight back against white supremacist, anti-trans, anti-woman violence on the streets and in jails and prison cells.